First of all, thanks for coming in, and like the other speakers, Francie, I want to wish you the best of luck, and to the Vice Chair as well, or Vice President. Right, we'll go through a few bits fairly quick. In relation to, and Jason, you were on about the nurseries. I think an announcement has been made in the UK in the last week that they are cutting their funding by 50% for forestry this year for their targets. So the nurseries in the UK will have an abundance of plants that probably will come into Northern Ireland and other places. Or if we were hoping here to keep it alive, because I would say that our forestry industry is dead at the moment. I think 45 hectares of this 1 acre dream world thing hectare that they were on about is all that's been done. We understood that you could plant if there was less than 35 mil a peat, the 1 hectare, but now you can't. So it's in the doldrums. The big worry I'd have is that we will have a nursery left in Ireland, to be quite frank about it. And I would like your views on that. And the forestry programme, you referred to 1.3 billion. It's 300 million. That's what it is. It's 1.3 billion over 20 years. It's what they have done, the greatest three-card trick that you could do, because we learned that abroad in Brussels for the people here, Jackie and myself and Tim and Paul that went out. And in relation to the ash dieback, I'll deal with them three first with you before I go on to this famous beetle. The ash dieback, there is a document there. I presume you've seen that document that the Minister has, and because there's realistic things in it, they won't put the funding to it to help the people with the ash dieback. I'd like your thoughts on them three things before I move on.
Yeah, well, thanks, Michael, and we'll pass on your good wishes to Alice as well, and Senator Davies. The ash dieback has been an absolute disaster. And I mean, to think that the report is now 4 months old and nothing has been done on it is completely unacceptable. And it has, as you said, it has shattered the confidence of farmers in the forestry sector. The requirement then, the 1.3 billion forestry programme, the requirement to have a certain amount of it set aside for hardwoods and areas of biodiversity. There's no farmer going to consider entering that programme with those restrictions in place. And for me, that 1.3 billion programme, it may well become the preserve of big business and not farmers, and that would be a shame. In terms of your second question was?
Well, I'm on about the UK is actually after cutting, or Jason might be on that one if you want. The UK is after cutting the fund, or their targets and their funding by 50%. So the amount of nursery trees that's available is going to be flooding the market out of the UK. And like Northern Ireland is in the UK, as we know, this beetle can fly. And it's going to put awful pressure on the nurseries here, because when we weren't ticking over in Ireland, they were able to sell some of the nursery trees to the Scotland and different places. If there's 50% now gone in the UK, we're in trouble.
Yeah, and look, the biosecurity measures, that's the point we've made already, need to be in place. In terms of the acre scheme, the problem with the acre scheme is that the requirement to plant by the 31st of March can't be funded, can't be supplied by the nursery industry here. The quicks are not in place. And there's been a relaxation in allowing the importation of quicks into the country to help meet that requirement for farmers to plant white thorn by the 31st of March. For me, if that requirement had to be spread out over the 5 years of the scheme, it would have given a signpost to the nursery industry here to be able to go plant solar quicks now and have them in place over the period of 5 years. And for me, it would have been a better way of doing it. There may well be a flood of nursery stock coming in from the UK if that is the case, but the biosecurity measures have to be in place on them, the same as we're looking for in terms of the bark beetle. and we've already seen it with ash dieback. When they're not in place, the devastating consequences that will occur. And look, animal disease the same. A lot of the diseases we have in our animals came in from important stock into the country, and that's why we go back to it again, that this is too serious an issue for the department to say that under EU plant law they're not allowed address this issue till the bark beetle is found in this country. That's not acceptable. They have to go back and look at that and make sure that this can be addressed. If it comes in, it's going to be too late. Geraldine, do you have a comment to that, or Jason?
My comment to that, just on, I suppose, the last couple of years when the stock, I know who rightly said it, Michael, the sickle spruce plants went to Scotland because they were planting 8,000 to 12,000 hectares a year, and the broadleaves went to Northern Ireland when we were only planting 2,000 hectares, when we had a target of 8,000 and the mills had sufficient stock for the 8,000, and they got caught that year and they got away with it. But you're 100% right. Going forward, if we have a scenario where we only planted with the last couple of years, was it up to 2,000 hectares and less last year, and we have stock, and that we've no outlet for it, especially the likes of, as you say, the north and England and so on. So the nurseries could be in big trouble here. But one thing I would say about the nurseries, they're very supportive of our cause in relation to ash dieback, bark beetle, the whole clear situation there. I think they're very supportive, I will say that. Or the ash dieback then, as you mentioned, look, what we're looking for out of the recommendations, we want all the recommendations in the report implemented. That's one thing we do agree with the Minister 100% on. She set up a review group, and we support her 100% on the recommendations. All we're looking for is to be implemented. As far as we know, we don't know where it's at the minute, but we don't want it gathering dust in a department shelf for a minister inside the minister's office. We want this brought to cabinet and brought through the door and get it out as quick as we can. For the simple fact is, if we could get the ash dieback and the funding for it, if we could get the ash dieback farmers somewhere sorted, it would be a big help for us on the ground to bring a small bit of confidence back into the sector, and we can, and as Francie has said, and we don't want to keep going back to it, but this bark beetle and the tax force and go through the biosecurity measures, that's vital from our behalf, because look, we're getting it in the ear every day that as I said, these trees, if it gets in and these trees start failing, we're in desperate trouble in this country. Before we're in trouble anyway. Look, the forestry was never, I said this at the AGM, the IFA AGM, that forestry was never in the worst place, and she disagreed, Minister Hackett disagreed with me. So, I'll stand to that. Forestry was never in the worst place in the history state than it is of right now.
I'll go on to the bark beetle now. My understanding that, and I'm now no expert on all these different beetles, I hear there's different types of beetles, but one beetle was found on sawn timber that was imported into the UK, is my understanding. And my understanding is that there is, we'll say, a sitka spruce beetle in parts of the UK for years. My understanding is that there is a section of Scotland, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but this is the research that I've done, where Ireland buys its timber from, that there is biosecurity measures to make sure that there is, say that they're watching any dangers in that way. Is that correct? These are the questions I'm asking that we'll know for the department. Ye says suspended. At the moment, with the timber that comes from Scotland and with what we have in the country, we're still able to thankfully get rid of it all. If we suspend something, will there be job losses in the industry, say the processing industry in Ireland, say the different places? My understanding from calls I have got, and I'm sure others have got them, that some would say one of our plants in Ireland would close down, would stop. Now, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but this is coming from the people that import some of the timber. If the UK and Northern Ireland is obviously, it's all one in their forestry programme, and I agree with Francie 100% that we need a 32 county thing in it. If they plant near Petticoat, for example, or if there's trees there that the bark beetle, well, surely it'll fly into Donegal. Do you know what I mean? That is it very hard control this? Is there any sort of spray for it? My understanding, if you get good hard weather like we're getting now, that it might kill them off altogether. And that's happening in the UK at the moment and here in Ireland. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. Thanks, Chair.
Going back to the economic impact, the greatest economic impact that's going to be felt in the forestry sector will be if this comes in, will be at farm level, 100%. And if we want a forestry sector in this country, we've got to be prepared to support particularly our farmers and the wider industry as well. 65% of Sitka spruce forestry is owned by farmers. So it's hugely important that the economic consequences at farm level is considered first. If the temporary suspension, if the review is done in a timely and efficient manner, the temporary suspension won't have to be for a huge length of time. We believe there's enough supply of timber in the chain to be able to service the industry in the meantime. So it's about getting it done in a timely and efficient fashion and getting back to business as normal after that. If the bark beetle comes in and it gets its foot under the table here, there'll be more than one sawmill going out of business. So and as we said already, the most efficient way of controlling it, or the most easiest way for the bark beetle to come in is through timber consignments. All right, it may be airborne, or it may come in machinery, but timber is the biggest carrier of it in, and that's why the review needs to focus on making sure that every consignment of timber is inspected, that the rules and regulations around it are enforced, that there's enough staff in place to ensure that they can do the job properly, and to look at the legislation side of it as well and ensure that EU plant law is not used as a fallback mechanism for doing nothing. That's not good enough. If EU plant law states that they can't do anything about it till it comes in here, that's not good enough then. We can't suspend the importation of timber into this country from somewhere because there may be bark beetle infestation and its consignment coming in. Till it comes in and we find it's already here. That stage is too late. Maybe Geraldine, do you want to come in on some of them?
Yeah, just in relation to, Michael, from what you've said there, your research seems to be on the nose. The European spruce bark beetle has been in the UK since 1982. So, and that's the one where there's the pest-free area, and that's Western Scotland, and that's the one that's surveyed, and there is surveillance and monitoring, and you can see that, and as I said, I'll supply the map to the committee where you can see where it's been identified and the years over the last number of years where it's been identified. The other one, the eighth tooth, that only came in 2018. And exactly as you said, that was on a consignment of timber. I didn't know it was. You said it was imported timber. Yeah. So and that was located in Scotland, and it wasn't a breeding pair. You know, I mean, it was just found and captured in one of the traps there. So absolutely, in relation to your comments in relation to frost, absolutely that also. It's the springtime is when they breed, when the weather gets warmer, and we've had multiple reproduction cycles now because of the longer summers, and that's what's been behind. Like, I mean, we've all, as I said, it's been since 2012 in Europe, and particularly post 2018, we've seen this rapid expansion of it, and that's to do with our warmer climate. But frost and things like that, absolutely, they stop that reproduction cycle. So yeah, I think that was your points there. Thank you.